right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up this week, the first of which is Puzzle Forge Dungeon. Right, so Puzzle Forge Dungeon is the, well, let's say latest installment. I don't know how many of these have actually been made, but I do know this is actually a series of match 3 puzzle games. I've seen like a couple of them on Android. I indeed tried to download the second one, but the app kept crashing, so I had to delete it. Like, that's kind of Android gaming for you. You know, it's one of the downsides. Sometimes stability isn't what you would get on the iOS, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. This new PC iteration. I don't know how it plays in conjunction with previous titles. That was kind of the point of why I downloaded another one of these, but it's definitely more elaborate than a modern day match 3 puzzle game, or even like, say, Bejeweled. And that can be a positive and a negative. At least it was for me. I suppose a bit of explanation needs to be explained. Sorry. Anyway, Puzzle Forge Dungeon, well, it's in the name. Its whole gimmick is around forging, blacksmithing, and you're going through a dungeon fighting enemies. So it's something like akin to Puzzle Quest, but definitely more like, this is among the most elaborate match 3 puzzle games I've ever played. Maybe the most elaborate. And what I mean by that is there's 2 phases. So the first is you've got to create a weapon or a bit of armor. That is to say, your basic puzzle piece is a bit of bronze, and you lay down the bronze in various configurations to get 3 bronze. So you can get a bit of iron, and you can do 3 iron to get a bit of silver, and that goes to gold. Yeah, so this isn't taking the realistic track with forged elements, because in real life, a weapon made of silver, or especially gold, is fucking useless. It's too soft to be a utility metal.
And
but yes, but it was really the softness that makes gold really worthless as an axe, unless you're putting it up on a wall, and then in which case it's very, very expensive, because gold is very, very expensive. Anyway, and on that chain goes until you get to their mythical metal called nephrite, something like that. It's this pink glowy metal that doesn't exist in real life, but it's the ultimate metal. Honestly, I don't know how far the chain of metals goes up to that point. I got a couple of pieces of that, unlock as a treasure unlock. But here's the thing. That's only phase 1, building a weapon, because after you've got 3 pieces, it's 2 pieces of particular metal, and that will go into a mold. You've got 3 molds. You've got a shield mold. You've got a spear mold, a shaft, and you got a sword mold. And you've got to lay down 3 of those in order to get an actual weapon or armor. And what kind of components you lay down will determine what you get. Like, if you put down 3 shields, you'll get a shield. But if you put down 2 shields and a sword, you'll get a helmet. Or if you put down 3 shafts, you'll get a spear. But if you put down 2 of those and a shield, you'll get a mace, if I'm remembering correctly. Basically, the kind of weapon you get will matter in terms of the configuration of molds you put down. And then you got your weapon. And then you're on to the next phase, which is attacking the monster. That's what this is all literally building towards. You're actually fighting monsters, and you've actually got to take into consideration some tactics. Nothing too elaborate, but where a monster is in relationship to your weapon does matter. Like if it's in the line of sight, you can throw it. If it isn't, you cannot. So, there's a lot going on here, just at its most basic level. And there's even more that gets piled on later. Or, for example, once you forge a weapon, that heats up the tiles. And the more you use the tiles, the hotter they get. It's like first go around, they get hot. Second go around, the tiles crack. Third go around, they will break. And yes, you can mitigate this by getting like unbreakable tiles as like a upgrade, or you get a item that is magic ice, which will cool things down, or you can replace the broken tiles. And another consideration with the type of metal that you use is that the stronger, at least according to this game's strength of metals, the stronger the weapons are in terms of their metal, the stronger they are when they are used. And you don't necessarily have to have a like a pure silver spear or mace, or it can be like a block of silver and 2 blocks of iron, and that'll still do more damage. Like, and it's like, and indeed, like the principal consideration here is speed versus power, because yeah, sure, you could build up to like say a golden sword, but that's going to take a while. That's going to like you have to get 3 bronze, 6 bronzes, then build up to this iron, build up to the silver, then build up to the gold, and each move takes a turn. Now you do get a certain amount of turns before the enemies attack, and you can augment that with bonus stats. But still, eventually the enemies are going to attack, and how hard they attack is another consideration. Because some other enemies either hit hard, or there are boss encounters where they have powerful moves that you would want to eliminate. So there's a consideration there. I'll be honest, I was very much an iron man in that crafting a couple iron bits, putting them into the mold, and throwing that weapon was the way to go. Granted, though that is a strategy that's going to become less effective over time, because once again, the monsters get stronger and more resistant to the weaker metals. So, and even to add more onto the pile, you do get augments, you do get unlocks, you get items like it's all this is health based. So if you get attacked, you lose your health. You eat apples. You have a special attack depending on your character. That's the biggest thing that comes into play with your characters, because you're not just playing a nameless dungeoneer or anything like that. You're playing as several characters with their own backstories that get unlocked. And some are unlocked for free. Some you have to actually pay to be on your team. And this game also does run a bit afoul of the RPG conundrum.
Is that in-game pay?
Yes. Yeah, worth noting, there's no DLC in this game. No microtransactions, none of that. It's one flat rate, and you got the game. This is especially in today's world, because this kind of game is very common on iOS and Android, and yeah, it's very microtransaction or ad fuel. None of that here. That's an advantage of being on the PC. Anyway, the RPG conundrum, that is the more you use your character, the characters in your party, the more experience they get. And, the characters that aren't in your party aren't getting experience. Now,
Lately I've heard more people bitching about the fact that it doesn't work that way.
This is an old school problem.
I know.
Yes. I will fully admit this is a problem mostly confined to, like, if you're going to play a 16-bit RPG or something, if you're playing Final Fantasy VI, going to be interesting to see how the Pixel Remaster handles that.
I don't expect it to change anything, honestly.
No, I'm not expecting that either. And this game does have a bit of that when, like, the later characters are unlocked and, the characters you've been using are stronger. But it's not that big of a deal because gaining levels here is actually quite, it takes a while. Like, the highest level character I had was level 3, and I was unlocking a level 1 character. Plus, it's also worth noting that you can run each district, which they call the actual, like, dungeon area, with each character. And actually, you're kind of expected to do that because you get, at the end of a dungeon, you get an Ember Seed, which allows you to purchase various upgrades for your not just like a character, but like you can unlock group healing, for example. And indeed, another reward for beating a district is unlocking more stuff. Like later on, you will unlock a merchant who will sell you items that you find in a dungeon. That kind of thing. So yeah, this is a full-on, like, dungeon exploration game. And of course, it wouldn't be one of these without, the indie most favorite of rule supplements. And that's the roguelike. It's rather light on that, in that, when you get to the dungeon, it's all procedurally generated. Not, it's like, even like down to the bosses, because, like, I wanted to see if it would do this, so I started. I went through the first dungeon, fought the boss there, reset, did that, and it was a different boss. That is another fixture of the roguelite scene. Like I said, and it looks like, according to the bullet points here, once you beat the game or complete all the districts, you can unlock infinite mode, which is all procedurally generated all the time. So, theoretically, this game will never end. So ultimately, there's a lot going on here. And I respect this more than I liked it, quite frankly. Because this may sound weird, but this requires a lot more thought and planning than your average match 3 puzzle game. Because your typical match 3 puzzle game, like, unless you're the type who plans moves and moves ahead, I don't know. It's like I found, like, focusing on the bottom of a your typical match 3 screen usually did the trick. Because here's the thing about Bejeweled style match 3 games: when you take care of the bottom, the pieces quite literally tumble into place a lot of the time. And this game isn't like that. Like, first of all, it doesn't tumble pieces in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't look like the pieces are affected by gravity towards a certain part of the screen in this.
No. And that's another consideration. You got to make sure you have the space to put in the molds. Like, because you need 3 spaces to put your bronze to get your iron. Then you need 2 irons, or if you're going for a higher metal, you need 3 irons. And keep in mind, while a battle is going, you're heating up the bricks. They're breaking, or later on, like, there's the enemies can actually freeze tiles, which makes them unusable until you break a weapon near it, and then because the heat will melt it. So like I said, there's a lot. There's a lot going on here. It's just it makes the game less approachable and less accessible than say Bejeweled or Luxor or Candy Crush. So, and that's kind of what I value in a match 3 puzzle game. Granted, I did enjoy like the original Puzzle Quest back in the day, but even that, with its added systems, was still very casual friendly. This is actually kind of a commitment. And like I said, I respect that. I respect that this game is doing a lot of actual innovation in a very well-trodden genre. Maybe not so much on PC these days, but certainly like the mobile scene is no stranger to match 3 games. I probably got a couple on my phone right now. But like I said, it's also something that I'm less inclined to sit with, especially when I get to the bottlenecks. Because, you will get to bottlenecks every now and again. So, and as far as graphics and sound, more than serviceable. In fact, I'm kind of surprised at some of the production values here, because like the in-game objects here, they're not 2D sprites; they're 3D models, which is again not a thing you see all that often in a match 3 puzzle game. So, and that's really the central thesis of this game. I enjoyed it well enough, but it's not something that will capture hours of my attention that like Jewel did back in the day.
Granted, sometimes simplicity is more attractive to the brain.
Yeah. This is definitely more, okay, maybe I'll run through a dungeon, maybe a few battles, and then I'm good. Like I said, it's kind of a push and pull. So ultimately, it's a very solid puzzle game, and like probably the most innovative I've played in a good long while. It's going to take some commitments. Thankfully, not a lot of financial commitments. In keeping with how elaborate this particular game is, the price is on Steam $14.99. So once again, that's actually on the high end for a match 3 puzzle game on the PC these days.
But not too bad for like a strategy game, which apparently this game is at least partially billing itself as.
It's not billing itself as, but it is.
Well, it's on the description there on Steam.
Oh, but yeah, it is a bit of a it's on the lighter end of a strategy game, sure, but like I said, it's on the heavy end as far as puzzle games go. Unless like you're one of those people who can, predict Tetris or Puyo Puyo moves ahead. I was never, that thoughtful in my playing of like Falling Block or match 3 puzzle games. Mm-hmm. But if you're that sort, I definitely say get this game. If you're looking for something that's more immediate for your dopamine receptors, probably like get Bejeweled 3 on Steam. Or go download any number of fucking free-to-play puzzle games on a mobile device before I'd recommend this one. But still, I would recommend playing this game, if only just to see the novelty of everything on display. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about Puzzle Forge Dungeon here?
I think I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, I think I asked everything that came up.
Good. All right, so that'll about do it for Puzzle Forge Dungeon. Be sure to tune in after the break, as the Golics will be reviewing Word Solution Casual Math Game.